Welcome to our class today. We will look a little bit into opposite energies in that sense. So let's embark on it. And I suppose we might best start lying down on our backs. As usual, please take care of your bodies. And if there's something that doesn't feel right, please make sure that you pause or adjust it accordingly. I've placed a block here by my side. I've got my usual blanket as a cushion and perhaps sitting support. So if you like similar props, that might be useful. And then if it is okay for yourself, lying down on your back, and you could just rest here like I'm doing. I'm more in a constructive rest, keeping things easy. You could also let your legs come out long if you preferred. Hands, you could choose to rest them lightly upon your body, or you might like to let them rest by either side of the body. And if you need any little wiggles, please have them right now. So perhaps wiggling yourself down into the ground. We start in a quite steady position, as so very often it is more about raising awareness first before we get into the physical part of the practice. While sometimes we feel unsettled and would really like to move, that is something for you to notice, just as it would be if you're feeling quite sluggish or heavy still. And that also leads us into the different energies. I'm thinking about yang and yin energy. The yang, the more active part of creating action, moving. The yin, the more calmer part, the more restful part when we think about our practice. But we're also holding yang and yin aspects during our daily living. And some days we manage them well, other days we're leaning towards one or the other. Whereas when we think about the symbol of yang and yin, it is even, kind of in harmony and embracing each other. So perhaps managing your energies or simply practicing awareness of your energies as you are here today doing this practice. Always worth learning about these more deeper ideas of ourselves to perhaps find it easier in the future. And for me, it is this practice on the mat that then ripples out into my life. The awareness, the time that we take here, and the care that we take for ourselves. I am suggesting now to begin to deepen your breath. And notice if you just did that on the inhalation, it's often a response like I need to breathe more deeply. But can you breathe out longer as well? And then perhaps apply control over your in-breath. And maybe you come to that kind of flowing symbol of the yang and the yin energy, where your out-breath flows out and then your in-breath comes in. Kind of like you're breathing in a cycle of breath. With each part of the breath being evenly valuable, evenly noticed. And as you notice the differences between the out-breath and the in-breath, perhaps you also become aware of their qualities. You might experience your in-breath as more invigorating or even active to do. Your out-breath perhaps feels more relaxing or even effortless. Keep observing your deeper way of breathing just for a few more rounds. You might now choose to keep the breath flowing right as it was just then. And perhaps simply lifting the head. And if you're having a cushion or a blanket underneath it, just tucking the lower end of your cushion or blanket underneath your neck, so your neck has a better support. I will be demonstrating these next movements only in case you need a visual support. So as you open your arms out, if you haven't yet, and perhaps bend your knees if they're extended, allow yourself just to let the knees lightly sway from side to side. A subtle rocking over the pelvis, and perhaps that movement increases lightly as you explore a bit more movement higher up the spine. If your neck feels right, you might gently roll the head too. Perhaps your arms expand a bit further. And as this is just a limbering up movement, I would ask you now to roll all the way over onto your right hand side. Keep that rolled up a cushion or blanket underneath the neck and extend both arms out at about shoulder height, touching the palms of the hands together. Your knees might be bent just like mine as you rest on your side. And on the breath in, use your upper hand and slide it up the lower arm, brush it across the chest, and then open it up to the other side as you might follow that with your gaze. Take a deep breath and stretch out into both arms and fingers. And then folding your left hand fingers in as you breathe out, roll through the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, and extend your arm again as you roll back to your right hand side. We'll do that again. On the breath in, upper hand slides up lower arm, brushes across the chest, and you might open and even look to the side. On the in-breath, stretch out into arms and fingers. On the out-breath, roll your left hand fingers in, then the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, and returning back to the side. Let's do that again as you breathe in, open up. Reach out into both sides. Both left hand fingers in, curl through this arm, and then extend again to the side. One more round. And either you now choose to continue as is, or you might choose to take the upper hand, draw a circle on the floor all the way up behind your head, and then take the circle out so you finish in a similar position. You might then, however, also circle back. Might. You could also choose to stay with the other version. We're finishing again in the same place. And then repeat the version you've just explored. Either keep opening or circling above you, reaching out, And if you want a mix of both, then fold in your fingers and roll your arms through and come back to touch. 2 more rounds of your favorite version. When you completed your round, allow yourself gently to roll again onto your back. Let your arms reach out, but you might lift your knees up and perhaps hug the knees into the chest. Might add a little rocking movement here from side to side. Only to then roll over onto your left hand side. I will change my demonstrational side. There you've got a better view perhaps. As you come to lie on the left hand side, again bend your knees so you're nice and comfortable in the lower body. Extend both arms out to shoulder height and the palms of your hands might touch. We begin in the same form. So while you breathe in, slide your upper hand, the lower arm, brush across the chest and start to open to the opposite side. Perhaps your head is following. Breathe in to stretch into arms and fingers. And then fold your right hand fingers in, the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder. And roll back over to the side until your arms are touching. We'll repeat that. Breath in as you slide up the arm, come across the chest, and then breathe out into your twist. Then stretching into the fingers, the arms on an in-breath, and rolling in, starting with the right hand fingertip as you slowly curl your arm in, only to extend it again. So if this feels right, repeat for 2 more. A breath in to brush across the chest and out to land in your twist. The extension into arms and fingers on the in-breath. And then just one arm rolls in to return over to the other side. 1 more round. Once you completed, take a little pause. We will continue, but you have the option of changing this again. So if you're feeling best with this version, repeat. Otherwise, sliding your top hand fingertips along the floor, all the way over the head perhaps, and maybe even coming out towards the side. As you then could choose to curl back in or circle that arm again all the way over the head and returning to the palms touching. So if you're extending, breath in to circle your arm up over the head. Breath out to land into the twist. If you're circling up, keep breathing. Otherwise, stretch out and then fold back in through fingers, wrists, elbow, shoulder, and extend back. We go for another 2 rounds, so choosing your variations that you feel best with on this side. As we meet again in our side lying position, do the same here. Be gentle as you come to lie onto your back again. Have your knees lightly bent, the feet onto the ground, and if you like me, feel that is a little bit slippery underneath the feet, then take your socks off. Let your arms come to rest along the sides of the body. The feet at hip distance apart. And the breath in is to tilt your pelvis. The breath out is to press the spine into the floor. And then a breath in to lift your hips up. A breath out to roll the spine back down onto the mat. Let's repeat it in that same way. Breath in to tilt the pelvis, out breath to press your back into the mat. In breath to start lifting your hips up. And out breath to roll them back down. You might like to do that one more time as you breathe in to tilt the pelvis and out to press the spine into the floor. And then in to lift your hips up. I will now grab my block. If you like to use that as a support, it might come in quite useful. You could place this block down flat underneath the sacrum, or you could choose a halfway up position. This morning I will choose the flat version of the block to rest upon, just a little bit lower, still in comfort, and feel free to wiggle again so your back is restful. You may now choose to stay right here where you are, or you could slide your right leg out long, leaving the heel on the floor so the leg is restful. You may choose to actively point the foot or relax the leg. Depending on the height of your bridge, this may feel quite challenging, lightly extending, or even unsuitable. If unsuitable, please step the foot back down onto the ground. An option here to lift the right arm as you breathe in and carefully place it down behind you as you breathe out. And you might add an active stretch through this right hand side. As you might raise your right arm again, bring it back down by the side of the body, bringing your right foot back onto the mat. As you pause, rather than rush to the other side, be aware of the sensations in the two sides of the body, the different energies that have already been created. And then there's the option of sliding the left leg out. The same here, leave the heel of the foot on the ground, but you could choose to point the foot actively or let your leg relax into the form. Same here, it's awareness. How does this side feel? Is it appropriate? If not, step the foot to the ground. And if you enjoy this extension, you might now also take a breath to raise your left arm and out to perhaps rest it behind the head. If you were to look at my demonstration, my two arms behave very differently, yet I find this quite comfortable. And you could choose to, as well, if it's comfortable, to stretch a bit more into that left-hand side. As you release through that soft stretch, breathe in to raise the left arm again, and out to place it by your side. Before you might also slide your foot down onto the ground. Pause again for a moment. See if the energies has evened out or how you're feeling now. And there's no guarantee that you feel balanced at this point. You can now choose to stay in the bridge. If you like, bring the block higher even, or you could choose to slide both legs out long. This might be a little bit challenging in the lower back. For me, it is. I will actually, for that reason, move the block a little bit further down so that my tailbone drops off the block and then extend the legs out. Now I feel like it's a nice release into the lower back rather than a challenge. If you experience this differently and it isn't right for you, please do bend the knees again. Your variation here of length or not. There's still the option of raising both arms up as you breathe in, and perhaps lower them again down behind the head as you breathe out. Allow your tummy to sink a little bit, but perhaps aiming for a deep stretch up towards the fingers, down towards the toes. And let your body soften again. Lift your arms on the in-breath and lower them by your sides on the out-breath. Lightly starting to bend the knees if your legs were extended. Lifting your hips up into the air and actively squeezing them up there while you remove the block from underneath. Then rolling your spine down vertebra at a time so you're nicely rounding as you release towards the mat. Let your feet wiggle out to the edges of the mat and the knees fall in for first release around the pelvis and the lower back. Then perhaps bringing the knees towards the chest for a hug. You could then rock from side to side across your back. If you find the rocking from side to side is yours, please choose one side to rock towards. If you feel you would like to rock forwards and backwards, do that for a few rounds. And then come up to a seat. I would ask you to find a supported seated position now, and I will use my block again to get there. My choice today is an easy pose, but you might choose any other seated position that allows you to lengthen your spine and maintain that with reasonable ease. You could even turn the palms of your hands upward now and let your index and thumbs touch together if that feels right. It might be a good, useful helper, this Dhyan Mudra, with concentration. Move shoulders enough so they find their place. Wiggle over your sitting bones if you need to. And lift the crown of the head to the ceiling. Lower your gaze or let your eyes close. I would ask you to return back to the sense of energy, perhaps even a dance between the energies. We've explored different sides separately together, and perhaps that also encouraged this dance. We're often talking here about the power of Shakti that brings in flow, and the energy of Shiva that provides us with stillness, but also presence. So perhaps there is that Shiva-like energy that sits in your body, allowing you to feel grounded right now, attached to the earth perhaps. The spine long and maybe reaching up into the crown of the head towards the sky. With your awareness on your breath, allow yourself to feel a slightly deeper breath moving in and slightly longer breath moving out. As you explored the qualities of the breath before, you might progress now to notice the space between the in-breath and the out-breath and the in-breath. These little pauses that we all have between each breath we take. And if it feels right, you might even explore to extend these pauses ever so slightly. No need to strain, no need to stress. Just lengthening the pauses a little. Expanding into the space. And then let go again of the whole, but stay in awareness with the space, the pauses between the breaths. Just your awareness, the breath is flowing again freely. Relaxing into the flow, focusing on the space, even emptiness or stillness. Precious moments between breaths. Perhaps more awareness of your energies has arisen as you might choose to open your arms a bit more and gently land your fingertips down behind and perhaps lean lightly towards these fingertips. Then drawing your knees up and landing both feet down onto the ground. You can choose to stay on your sitting support if that's comfortable enough. And let your knees just gently rock again from side to side. It might feel good to have the feet at hip distance. It could feel nice also to have the feet a little bit wider. And if your neck is right, you could also turn the head and slightly move through the upper body as well. We will then turn ourselves all the way into a standing position. So perhaps removing even the block. It's always a good idea to have that close to the front side end of the mat. As we come to stand right there, I will continue facing you here for you to practice perhaps with a better vision. As you allow yourself to stand comfortably on both of your feet, I'd love to bring some Shakti energy in now. So start to jiggle. You might wiggle through your arms. You might just start wiggling through the whole body. Perhaps even letting your shoulders go. The head could come in. And if you feel free and unobserved, you might even go into active shaking. Maybe there's a wild dance coming up. Get all the way into energies, bend your body, extend it, swing your arms around, whatever feels right. Wish we had our favorite piece of music on right now, and then let all of that stop. Come to stand just as you are. Lower your gaze or close the eyes, and for a moment indulge in this energy. So that you feel the breath has changed, there's tingling everywhere. Maybe a smile arises as the energy of life is so very present. And from here, let's take a deep breath to raise the arms and lift the gaze. And then draw the hands down the midline with your knees bent as you fold for a forward bend. On the in breath, lengthening the spine again. Now on your out breath, stepping back your right foot and landing the knee onto the ground. You might like a hip distance stance between the back knee and the front foot. Then take an inhale and relax over the front leg. And breathe out to roll your spine up. As you inhale, could your arms reach up, and if comfortable with it, you might rest your hands, fingertips behind your head. If not, you can always go lower towards shoulders or even into the right. With the inhale, then open your elbows, lift your chest and gaze. And as you breathe out, try and draw the elbows together. Aim for a rounded spine, but perhaps your elbows tap to the side. And as you breathe in, your arms reopen. You're lifting your heart, your gaze again into back bend. And for the out breath, the elbows might draw back in as you round your spine, but lowering only so maybe elbows tap to the side. Inhaling to open out wide. Exhaling to round the spine. So the main aim here is a cat-cow-like movement. We'll go for 2 more. And once you completed the two, releasing your hands down onto the mat, stepping your leg back, even your knees a little bit further, and then leaning into a kneeling plank. However, if you insist, could you tuck the toes under and lift the knees for a full plank position? Keeping my elbows by the sides and the elbows start to lower down onto the front of the body. Touching the tops of the feet down so your knees lightly lift. And on the in-breath, tuck the chin in and wave your spine up for a little cobra. You might keep the shoulder blades down the spine, your elbows tucked into your side, the gaze ever so lightly forward. Inhaling here. On the exhale, soften back down onto the mat. On the in-breath, rise up onto your hands and knees, a perfect position to stay in if you wish. Some of you might like to practice a down dog, then roll your spine up and lift your knees. Perhaps we'll start to move the all fours as well as the downward facing dog. And then walking the feet or sliding the knees to the front end of the mat, landing back in a forward fold. For the in-breath, fingertips might press against the shins, straightening your spine. And on the out-breath, softening back down, inhaling here. For the exhale, begin to uncurl the spine, slowly rising to a stand. You might bring the arms through the midline and breathe in to lift again. Releasing your arms down to either side, standing back tall in your mountain. Noticing again, where's the energy? Can you feel it in your feet? Would it help to draw the inner heels towards each other? Next inhale, lifting arms and gaze again. Touch the palms, bend the knees and fold slowly forward, Uttanasana. On the in-breath, half lift. On the out-breath now, stepping your left foot back and the same here, lower the knee down into the mat. You might untuck the toes and then have a look at the distance between front foot and back knee and adjust that to hip distance. Then a breath in to relax your upper body. And a breath out to uncurl it to stand. You might reach the arms out and up, and if that's still suitable, fingertips behind the head. Alternatives are yours. And with the inhale, lifting the chest again. Same movement as on the other side, perhaps elbows draw together around the spine, and the deepest might be elbows tapping to the thigh. On the in-breath, opening up again. On the out-breath, curling in. Think again more about rounding than bending forward, and rather extend more into your back than leaning further down. All of this talking, got to count again, Asa, very often. This might be our last round now coming up. And once you've completed it, release your hands down to frame the front foot. Step the knee back. And perhaps both knees a little bit more. The same choice here is a kneeling plank or a full plank. Breath in. Keep your elbows close, and on the breath out, start to lower again down onto the front of your body. If the cobra was yours, you can repeat the cobra. Otherwise, you might bring your arms along the sides of the body. On the breath in, could you then lift your legs as well as the head, the chest, and even your arms? Maybe this back bend is a little bit lower. Keep the length right down to the fingers and to the toes, forward to the head. If you're still with me, perhaps lift a little bit higher. And then surrender down onto the floor. You might bring your hands forward to place them underneath the shoulders. And an inhale to come onto hands and knees. I suggest to round the spine and sit briefly towards the heels. You might even enjoy a little wiggle, especially if you went for the locust variation instead of the cobra. An in-breath now to lift back up onto all fours. You might then tuck your toes under and take a breath out to round up to down dog or stay on all fours. Then here we begin with some wiggles and movements. But you might then walk your feet or slide your knees back to the front side end of the mat. Taking a half lift for an in-breath and a forward bend for an out-breath. Let the body hang down and support it with pelvic floor, lower abdominals as you uncurl the spine to stand. You might reach the arms back up on a breath in and let them lower down as you return to the mountain pose on the breath out. Finding steadiness in your gaze or closing the eyes again. Perhaps inner heels activate, they draw toward each other. You might allow your hands now to rest upon the pelvis. And then take a step back and out to the side with your right foot. Landing this foot down in a deep angle and bending into the front knee. Have your hips now turned to the side. Then step your feet a little bit further apart. If your hips are still looking forward, you're in a safe position. And then begin to draw your feet back inward. Your choice here is a full warrior one, or keeping your hands there, or bringing the hands at heart center. Heart center might be nice. Extension might feel good. Play along with what is right for your body. Keep shoulders reasonably easy, but feet strong. Your front knee bent over the ankle, and perhaps feel the power of Virabhadrasana 1 or Warrior 1. On the breath in, lift your heel, your arms. Step the foot a bit further back, align your heels now and extend the arms out to the second warrior pose. Mine looks different because of shoulder issues, but the back foot is the heel lightly turned outwards. So when you look forward, your knee might more easily align with the toes. And then repeat what we've done before, draw your feet inward so there's inner strength. And maintain your drishti or gazing point over the front hand fingertips. For the other energy, could you start to move and flow a little into the upper body, perhaps even including some movement into the legs, bringing in softness and flow. Then place your hands to the front side, lean forward and see if you can step to the front with control. As you come to stand back at the front, the palms might turn back open. You could aim to reach the crown back up towards the sky before touching hands back onto your pelvis. Taking a step back and out to the side with the left foot. Then here, land that foot in an angle. Observe what's happening underneath your hands. If the hips are still looking forward, perfect. If they've turned out to the side, leave the hips but adjust your feet and then bend into the front knee. Once your feet are in the right position, draw them lightly toward each other and then make choices where to place your hands. Would you like to extend the arms, perhaps even touch? Do your hands feel good where they are, or do you prefer Anjali Mudra in front of your chest? Maintain steadiness, the light squeeze of the feet inward, and hold that steadiness in your gaze to the power of a warrior one. On the breath in, raise the back heel, lift your arms, step the foot a bit further back and open your arms out to shoulder height. Front knee is bending again back heel is slightly further out. I've adjusted my arms again. This time I've turned the palms up, knowing that that will serve my shoulders. So these are all options for you to choose as well. As you look forward, the knee aligns ideally with the toes. Before you draw your feet inwards again and find the stability, but also again steadiness, the steadiness of gaze and posture. If you feel the playfulness serves you, let your warrior dance a little. You might then lean again against your front side, raise your back heel, and see if you can step forward with control. Sometimes happening perhaps, and sometimes it doesn't, as you land back into your standing pose or mountain shape Tadasana. Our balance today is also reasonably playful. If you feel a rule or a piece of furniture is appropriate, please use that option. Lifting the right heel or even knee, and you might choose to embrace that knee if it's within your reach. There will be two options. One is to opposite hand on the knee. The other is the opposite hand to the outer edge of the foot. If you choose that, you might want to extend your leg forward. I will choose the bent version now, and then starting to open your right arm behind you, perhaps even opening your gaze out towards that side. Dancing Shiva as we're working with the energy. Enjoy wobbles if they arise. And then turn back to the front. And if you're not fallen out, land down gently. Empower yourself with squeezing your heels and opening the front. Before changing to the other side, as you might lift the left heel or bring the knee up towards the chest. It's really the same options here. The opposite hand to the outside of the knee or to the outer edge of the foot. And if it's the foot, you might like to extend the leg. I will demonstrate again with the knee bent. And no matter your version, you might reach your left arm back this time, and perhaps your gaze changes there too as you come into the twist. A breath in to turn forward, and perhaps landing down gracefully. Let's take a deep breath to reach both arms up, and then folding back forward on the out breath, reaching back to solid ground as we might land both knees down and then retreat towards an extended child's pose. However, you can always choose variations and even stack your hands for your forehead to rest on. I'm currently moving slightly after the twist, getting some movement through the pelvis, lower back, shoulder area. But then perhaps settling in and taking a few deeper breaths. Aware perhaps again of the different qualities of your out breaths and your in breaths. Maybe even those pauses come back to mind. On the next exhalation, beginning to uncurl the spine to rise to sit. And you could then take your blanket as a seated support and perhaps sit on it. The other version is, of course, at the end of the mat, as you could roll that up if there's no blanket. Sending your legs out towards the front, flexing the feet. I have my knees bent when I start this pose. You might do the same. Press your fingertips down and find some length in your spine. As every time you can shuffle and sway as you move forward, or you can do the classical version, lean your belly towards the side. For all, once that has happened, adjust the hands, feel into the length of your back, and decide from here whether it's appropriate to lower the upper body or to stay there. You can also choose to slide your heels a bit further out, but all that is happening with mindfulness, observing the energies in your body, the sensations that are present. And we're keeping the feet flexed for the whole duration of Paschimottanasana, or the seated forward bend. You can stay here for just 2 more breaths. You need to come out earlier, that's fine too. Once you completed those breaths, start to slide or walk your hands back. You might place your hands down behind your back with your fingers pointing forward. However, if this is not a good idea, because your wrists are sore or else, you can always step up onto fists instead. I would like to begin this with the right leg extended and the left foot firmly onto the ground, then pointing through the right toes. And if it is right, lifting your chest. If you would like more, pushing your hips off the floor, one-legged plank position, upward facing. Breath in and breath out to slowly sit back down. If you did extend one leg, bend it again and then extend the other leg as you repeat. Your options: lifting your chest, pointing the foot, or even lifting your hips up. Again, gently lowering back down to sit. Both knees may be bent for the next round, or if you insist, both legs could be out long. You would then have your feet touching, your legs close, the feet pointed. However, I will choose the standing position on the feet, hip distance apart. You might again raise your heart or lift your hips up into the air. Perhaps you keep your gaze forward, maybe the gaze travels backwards. One breath, and gently landing again onto the ground. You might lift yourself up and embrace your knees and give them a gentle hug while you soften your shoulders and relax the head and neck. Now, if you have a wall nearby, just like I have, I would like to finish with legs up the wall pose. However, as most of you are aware, a wall is not needed to practice the pose, but perhaps a block would be handy. So if you would like to practice against the wall, like myself, sit with the side of the hip on the wall and then roll over onto your back so your legs come up the wall and your body is resting directly on the wall. If you don't want to do legs up the wall literally, step your feet down, lift your hips up and pop the block flat or halfway up onto the ground before lifting your feet off the floor and extending your legs as well. Both variations, you might open your arms out as the palms of the hands ideally facing up, and your shoulder blades might be tucked under lightly. Then enjoy the downward flow of the energies, and you might find that it is a rather calming position to be in, although it is an inversion. Observe the energies as they are right here, maybe especially as the flow of bodily fluids and energy is physically reversed. to release the shape. If you're free in the middle of your space, bend your knees to the chest, step the feet back down, lift hips, remove block and gently lower. If you're on the wall, bend your knees to the chest as well. Roll over towards your side. Pause there for a moment. And then basically directly finding your way onto your back and transitioning into a Shavasana-like position. So that could be a bolster underneath the knees. You might have a full Shavasana, legs out long, legs rolling out, arms back out to either side away from the body. Or you might prefer your knees quite bent, feet wide and knees falling in, which then is a constructive resting pose. Might be a nice idea to let the head roll a couple of times from side to side. Perhaps then you center the head again and immerse yourself into the stillness that the Shavasana or a resting pose might be able to provide. Perhaps even an energetic reflection upon your practice, how this unfolded for you. Did you feel the active energy as well as that of more groundedness and relaxation? Are the sensations different between your right and left hand side? You might now begin to focus more on the left half of your body, the energy of Shakti, active. And then the right side of your body, the more grounded energy, the powers of Shiva. You might see your left side as the divine feminine energy, the qualities of beauty, devotion, playfulness, sweetness, nourishing love, gracefulness, but also feminine strength. You might then focus on the right side of the body as a divine masculine energy. As you sense the qualities of stability and steadiness, penetrating intellect, a clarity of vision, peace, vastness, and masculine strength. Aware that we hold both these energies within us as human beings. Let your attention perhaps move from the feminine side to the masculine side of your body as you notice the difference. Then feel these two sides of the divine nature both held within yourself. And perhaps visualize these energies in your body being balanced. Masculine and feminine divine energy in union within your being. These teachings of the divine masculine and feminine energy in balance within ourselves kind of relate to the cards that are true for this practice today. It's from the law of attraction deck. And it says, I understand the rules of the game of life. I think we're all working on that more permanently. It says further, now that I understand the rules of this game of eternal life, now that I understand the powerful law of attraction and deliberate creation, my life experience can become more that of the allower, the one we were born to be, destined to a life of fulfillment and never-ending joy. And perhaps these two energies within you unite somewhere around your heart center. Allowing joy to spread into your being, and perhaps enhancing that by putting on a smile on your lips. Before you start to deepen your breath, noticing these two in alignment, playing again with each other. And you might feel now like moving lightly or stretching out. Before you might join me in a seated position. Perhaps keep the gaze low, even your eyes closed as you transition to a seated form. And you might like to rest the backs of your hands down so the palms are facing upwards. And once you get there, you might even bring your hands a bit more in front of you and look into the two hands, the different aspects, the different sides. Before you might join these sides physically in Anjali Mudra in front of your chest, palms touching. As the energies unite, the heart might lift towards it. A joyful smile might come onto your lips. And we're sharing the joy with each other as we lightly bow and extend toward each other. Namaste.